G'day everyone, welcome to this video, and today we have a bit of a twist. Those of you that were around during the start of my channel may remember when I did a couple of videos devoted to aircraft and tanks that I'd like to see in War Thunder. And people have been asking on the Discord to bring it back. And well, I'm more than happy to oblige. So, how about we go for a few that I think should be added to the game? Of course, I will do this for tanks as well, and I might even throw in premiums as well. Do let me know. But let's begin with the whole thing. So, of course, the way I tend to do this is I tend to pick one of each nation, one of which is technically a US plane as well, but it's for Sweden, so don't worry. So, starting us off with the US, we have the F4 F3S. This is the Wildcat fish. This would probably be an event vehicle, if anything. But come on, a Wildcat with floats, which looks absolutely ridiculous, but looks absolutely fun. Who wouldn't want this? Come on. So, other than being a standard F4F with just floats on it, there's no real differences. It has 450 caliber machine guns, can carry the same bombs as the original Wildcat, being up to 200 pounds. And well, I mean, look at it. I mean, there is. I was tempted to put in the Spitfire with floats for Britain, but I thought I'd go with something a little different for that. But like I say, if this was to come to the game, it's heavily likely it would be an event vehicle or a battle pass vehicle. And personally, I would prefer it as that. But if this thing was added to the tech tree, I'd be on this and reviewing it like a car bonnet. Trust me, this plane, it's just such a meme. Like, come on. Who wouldn't want this? And yes, my inner 6-year-old is coming out here. And I've had to use, well, there is images of the F4F3S on Google Images, but I've had to use Wikipedia just to drag up these, and this is the only real image on Wikipedia I could find. So there's not a lot about this aircraft. Apparently, I know there's only like two, but even so, event vehicle, battle pass vehicle, I don't care. I just want it in the game. I'd gladly throw my wallet at the screen if this thing became a premium. Moving on to Germany, we have the Dornier 23. This is essentially a German SB2M bomber. It looks like an SB2M with its design. A little bit different, of course, but it reminded me of an SB the moment I looked at it. Now, if we scroll down to the armament, in fact, I'll show you a brief image as well. This is the image of the aircraft. It reminds me a bit of a mix between an SB2M and a TB3. So that's kind of why I like the look of this thing. Of course, this is the one with Rolls-Royce engines, but whatever, that doesn't matter. But if we get the G model, which is the one shown here, we have not amazing performance, but for around about 1.0 to 1.3, it'd be a nice starting bomber for the German medium bomber line because it can carry up to 1,000 kilograms of bombs. It has three 7.92 machine guns, and I just think a BR of around about 1.0 would give this thing a bit more variety than the Dornier 17E. Because personally, I don't like the Dornier 17E. Sure, this thing's not going to be better than it, but it'll at least carry a better payload, which could be more useful in ground forces, which is probably what I'd use this thing for, but I wouldn't mind seeing this. Although this plane right now is probably the lowest on my list, like for the ones that I want to see. So yeah, this is probably the lowest on the list if I was to personally suggest, but I'd love to see it regardless. On to Russia, we have the Yak-11, and of course, most people are going to look at this part here of role of training aircraft and be like, why would we want that? Why would we want a training aircraft in the game? Well, this one did have some guns, and it did have some bombs. Well, I say some guns, it had one, but you get my point. It had a single engine with 700 horsepower, top speed of about 289, so I'd reckon around 1.3 to 1.7, because it either had a 7.62 or a 12.7, and then could carry two 100 kilogram bombs, if I had to guess. Just something, unique, and plus the Yak line has been bunched up for quite a while now. I think if you put this thing at around 1-3, it would be a nice starting point to the Yak line, and then you can move on to more conventional Yaks. And from what I've heard, this thing was pretty agile as well, so it fits the Yak or the Yakovlev playstyle. So it would be a nice multi-role sort of plane that I think could work in the game. Just around about 1-3 though. Anything higher than that, I wouldn't personally suggest. This one's going to be a bit controversial because quite a lot of people discuss this plane. This is the Bolton Pole Defiant. This is a plane that is pretty well known. Let's just say that. This is a plane that is what's known in the trade as a turret fighter. What this means is it has no forward armament, and the only armament it has is a quad 7.7 machine gun turret in the back. Typically, these were used to intercept bombers, and as a result, they were very vulnerable to fighters, as the page here says about PF-109s. And it was definitely a capable plane. It's just when they realized what it could do and couldn't do, it was a bit too late for that, and the losses were really racking up. Now, I would personally suggest, due to its performance, if we just scroll all the way down, it had the performance of around about a Hurricane, but of course, it only has the turret guns, which would be very difficult to implement into the game. Now there is the I think it's the Blackburn Rock, which is the other one that has a turret fighter um sort of role. I believe it's called that anyway. But that could also carry a couple of bombs. I think that one would probably get into the game easier than the Defiant, but I'd still like to see the Defiant because, well, maybe get an interceptor spawn. Um, Put it around 1-7, I would guess, because then it can fight BF-109s like it did historically, and you never know, it might actually stand a chance for a skilled pilot behind the controls. But that's how I would see it, and personally, I would love to see this thing in the game purely because of how weird and wacky it is. I mean, come on, it's the Bottom Defiant. If you're not adding this into the game, there's something wrong with you, Gaijin. Next up, we have the Mitsubishi G3M. This is a pretty well-known Japanese bomber, and I really don't understand why we don't have this. And I just don't understand why we don't. I mean, we have the Betty, the G4M, which was the variant after this, or the aircraft after this, I should say. It wasn't a variant of the G3M. But we do have quite a bit to know about the aircraft. There's a lot of variants, but the one shown on here is it has a single 20mm Type 99 cannon, and it has four 7.7 machine guns and can also carry 800 kilograms of bombs like most Japanese bombers, or a single torpedo. Judging by its firepower and its relatively low performance for maximum speed, I would put this thing around about 2.3, maybe 2.0, maybe as a counter to like a different aircraft to fly instead of flying the massive H6K. Probably put it before the H6K or just beneath the Betty is where I'd put it. But I think this could honestly work because it's not the most amazing plane in the game. Well, it wouldn't be the most amazing plane in the game, but it would certainly be better than that giant flying, shall we say, hunk of shit known as the H6K. So that's at least something. And I just think it could be, well, not only recognizable, but you never know. Could give China one for all we care. Speaking of China, I've had to go onto the War Thunder forum to find this one. This is the Chu XPO. This is China's really only World War II plane that they designed, from what I've really found. There was a modification of the SB Bomber. I can't remember its name for the life of me though. But this is pretty much that, well, the extent of what the Chinese made. This, as far as I've been able to tell, either had machine guns or 20mm cannon. I'm not sure how many of each. Information on this little guy is very limited, but its performance seems to be about the same as a P-36, borderline P-40, E model, of course, not the F. But it would be something unique, and obviously with it being China's really only somewhat known, shall I say, domestically produced aircraft, it would be something nice to see, but I really don't have any information on this plane. If you do yourself, do put it in the comments below. But I really am drawing a blank with this one. And when it came to choosing a Chinese aircraft, I was either gonna put in a Chinese Buffalo or something like that, because I know China had one, well, at least one of them. Um, or probably just suggest another P40 for the tech tree, maybe a P40C. But I really was drawing a blank when it came to China, so unfortunately, not a lot to think about when it comes to that sort of thing. Next up, we have the Kant Z506 Aeron. And, well, this thing is it's a bit controversial because not many people like this plane from what I've seen, but I like it. I mean, it's not exactly amazing, but it's just nice, you know? I mean, we don't have any. Do we even have any Italian float planes? Let me actually have a think. I don't think we do. But thinking about it, why should we not? I mean, if we go down to the specifications, sure, it doesn't have amazing armament, or ordnance, or top speed, but if you put this around 1.7, it could give the Italian Navy something, I suppose, because they really don't have much. And whilst it isn't exactly an amazing bomber, it would still do the job, and in naval, I'm sure its one 800-kilogram torpedo would be more than adequate to deal with most of the ships that you find in that BR range, so I don't see why not, and well, Italy used quite a bit of float planes from when I was doing my research, so I thought, why the hell not? And finally, we come to Sweden. Of course, well, it is a US plane, but they did have them, they had about 60 of them. This is the Seversky P-35. Now, I have seen in the data leaks that apparently the US might be getting one in a future patch. Personally, I would gladly see that. Personally, I'd want to see that. But at the same time, I'd love to see Sweden get one because it just makes more sense in my personal opinion. But I think, in my personal opinion, this thing should have been in from the start for Sweden, just to give it a bit more variety. Fair enough, Sweden had a lot of unique planes already, but I think the P-35 would have just given that extra kick up the arse, so to speak. And I think just overall, it'd be a nice thing to have in the game. And personally, I would love to have it in both the US tree and the Swedish tree. Even if the Swedish tree had it as a premium, I wouldn't be all that concerned and all that bothered because I'd still get it. But the problem is Sweden already has two capable premiums, of one's way better than the other. But you understand my point, and I think if you put this thing just before the I'd say just after the J11, if I was to personally suggest where to put this, I'd put it around 1.7 to 2.0, and I think it would do just fine, at least in my eyes. But that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video on these aircraft that I want to see in the game. Don't worry, I'm going to be getting to work on the tanks. Then once they're done, maybe some premiums. I might do some research into some premiums that we might want. And well, yeah, I just thought bringing back this because people have asked for it on the Discord. Um, I thought this would be something that every so often we can just do. Like we can discuss tanks, or maybe we can do like suggestion videos for Gaijin, like I used to. Um, and we'll just try things like that because why not? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I think should be in the game anyway, so why not give it a shot? But anyway, I'm gonna let guys off. I hope you enjoyed today's little twist on the videos, of course. Um, and well, I hope you'll enjoy the tanks one because that'll be coming soon. But anyway, I'll see you all on the next one.